Hey everyone, I'm Colin, and this is Remarks with Republicans, where we have real conversations with the people shaping the future of our state and nation. Today we are at the Hancock County Lincoln Day Dinner, a night focus of faith, freedom, and the future of Illinois. From grassroots leaders to elected officials, we're bringing you the voices that matter. So let's get started.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah. Whoa, yeah.
Remarks with Republicans is starting right now.
All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to our annual Lincoln Dinner. I am so excited for tonight's event. We've got an amazing lineup of speakers and candidates. I'm not going to spend much time up here because I really want to keep this moving, but I do want to ask, how many of you have already voted? Just raise your hands if you've already voted. All right, so not a lot of people yet. Okay, so you guys, if you've been to our dinners before, I've probably shared these numbers before, but they're worth sharing again. So 12,201 is the number of registered voters in Hancock County. And about 74% of Hancock County residents are Republican. 9,175 people voted in the 2024 presidential election, so about 75% of the registered voters. 7,011 voted in the 2022 midterm, which is, when we voted for the state offices like governor, secretary of state, attorney general. So over 2,000 fewer people voted in the midterm election than in the presidential election of 2024. So we've got to stop ignoring the midterm elections. We've got to get out and vote. And here's the thing. So if all of the voters in Illinois who voted for Trump in 2024 were to come out and vote for a Republican governor candidate here in 2026, we would get Pritzker out of office. That's all it takes. So it's not up to Chicago, it's not up to, that's all it takes. Everybody that came out and rallied and voted for Trump, we've just got to get you guys out and vote for whoever the Republican candidate for governor is going to be. And we will have Pritzker out. So it is possible, it is doable. Everybody that says, oh, there's no way we can do it, yes, we can. We've just got to get out and vote. So we can take the state back, we can make Illinois great again. So in Hancock County, we need to do our part. So please vote early if you can. And if not, then please make sure that you are voting at your polling location on March 17th. And if you have friends and family who haven't voted yet, please encourage them to vote, give them a ride to the polls, shame them if you have to, just whatever you gotta do, just let's get people out to vote. So I'm gonna stop talking. First, before we get into our speakers, we're gonna have Tony Kaler come up and lead us in the prayer and then follow with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we humbly ask your blessings upon this event and for all those present. We pray for you to instill in us guidance, wisdom, and discernment as we gather as a like-minded body with the unified objective of selecting and supporting competent, honest leaders for the betterment of this constitutional republic through fair elections steeped in truth and integrity. Without you, we are nothing. In you, we lack nothing. We ask for your divine favor to be upon President Trump, all those in leadership roles, and those preserving and honoring the rule of law, including the men and women of ICE, CBP, and local agencies supporting their mandates. As it says in 1 Timothy 2, first of all then, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way. Daniel 2 says, he changes times and seasons, he removes kings and sets up kings, he gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. And James 3 follows up with peacemakers who sow in peace, reap a harvest of righteousness. Where there is unrest, bring calm. Where there is outrage, bring understanding. Where there is division, bring unity. Return patriotism and love of country, rooted like a giant Illinois oak, which lives for decades, as we approach the celebration of the semi-centennial of this great country. Bless the hands that prepared this meal. May it nourish our bodies to better serve you. Provide us with safety in our travels. Protect our family, friends, and loved ones. And may God bless the state of Illinois and the United States of America. We pray these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, who died for our sins, so we might be forgiven and reap the bounty of your eternal grace. Amen. Now, if we say the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we've got a lot of office holders, candidates, special guests with us tonight, so I'm going to acknowledge each and every one of them. Just save your applause till the end. We've got Chris Miller, State Representative for the 104th District here. And as I call your name, if you could stand, that would be great. That way everybody can see your beautiful face. Aaron Delmar, State Central Committeeman. At the county level, we have Bobby James, our Hancock County State's Attorney. We've got Chris Pilkington, our Hancock County Treasurer. Kira Weber, Hancock County Circuit Clerk. We've got Mary Miller here, our United States Representative in the Illinois House District 15. We've got Judge Chad Long, an Associate Judge in the 9th Judicial District. All right, if you are a precinct committeeman, please stand and be recognized. And all precinct committeemen are listed on the back of the program. All right, County Board, we've got Wayne Bolin, Harry Douglas, Mark Harrison, Leanne Lambert, Steve Lucy, Mark Menn, Tom Rogers, and Josh Turner. All right, if you are a township official, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. If you are if you're a former office holder, please stand and be recognized. If you are a current or past member of a school board, please stand and be recognized. If you are a current or former law enforcement officer, please stand and be recognized. And if you are a first responder or support staff, including dispatchers, jailers, ambulance, firefighters, etc., please stand and be recognized. We got a whole table of them over here. If you have ever served in the military, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. All right, so for candidates, we've got quite a few candidates here tonight. If you haven't had a chance to talk to them yet, be sure to do so after the program, because that's what they're here for. They want to hear from you guys. We've got Jordan Haas, candidate for Hancock County Sheriff. We've got Josh Smith, candidate for Hancock County Sheriff. Shannon Kissinger, candidate for Hancock County Treasurer. Deb Roskamp, candidate for Hancock County Treasurer. Wayne Bolin, candidate for Hancock County Board in District 1. Harry Douglas, candidate for Hancock County Board in District 2. Tom Rogers, candidate for Hancock County Board in District 3. Aaron Kaler, candidate for Hancock County Board in District 4. And Josh Turner, candidate for Hancock County Board in District 4. And Leanne Lambert, candidate for Hancock County District Board in District 5. Chad Long and Carissa Bryant are our candidates for Circuit Judge in the 9th Judicial District. They're both here. Josh Higgins, candidate for State Representative in the 94th District. Kristen Drew, representing Brian Drew, who's our candidate for Illinois Comptroller. Tom DeVore, candidate for State Central Committeeman in the 15th District. Jeannie Evans, candidate for U.S. Senate. Philip Krups is representing Don Tracy for U.S. Senate. Tim Polzinski is representing Rick Heidner, who's a candidate for Illinois Governor. Aaron Delmar, candidate for Illinois Lieutenant Governor. Darren Bailey, candidate for Illinois Governor. Mary Miller, William Wadsworth, who's the Chief of Staff for Congresswoman Mary Miller, Brenda Morrison, Chairman of the Warren County Republicans, John McCoy, Chairman of the Adams County Republicans, and John Riley, Chairman of the Henderson County Republicans. And I'd also like to recognize everyone who purchased a VIP table at this evening's event. Jordan Hawes for Sheriff has 3 tables. Shannon Kissinger for Hancock County Treasurer has 2 tables, and Hancock County Dispatch has a table. So thank you guys for that.
Well, thank you, Wayne. I can tell you Wayne is my right hand, and I thank you very much. First, I want to thank you, the Republicans, here tonight. What a turnout. And number 2, I want to thank the Hancock County Chairman, Audrey Hall, and her committee. Give them a round of applause. What a great job. Just wanted to touch a little bit, got just a few minutes to touch. What the county is made up of, the Hancock County Board is made up of 15 individuals that are elected from 5 districts, 3 represent each district. And we have 15 members on the Hancock County Board. This is the thing I'm proud of. 15 of them are Republicans. All right, we have the Finance Committee. The chairman of the Finance Committee for the Hancock County is Wayne Boland. Does an outstanding job. He has, I can tell you, year after year, we have balanced budgets and have done a great job, and we are physically responsible for the tax money that you provide to us. On the Health and Miscellaneous, we have Harry Douglas. Harry does a great job with that. Highway, Road, and Bridge, we have Dennis Castleberry. Building and Grounds is Mark Hansen. Out of these, we have 6 members that serve on those committees, a total of 7, counting the chairman, and then the chairman of the board sits in just to advise. With that being said, I do want to recognize a couple of board members tonight because they chose to retire, but they have, I estimate, 32 years of service. We have retiring off the board in November, Mark Hansen. Mark served for 12 years, or will serve 12 years on the board. And Steve Finney, which has well over 20 years. So we're losing a lot of experience, but I've got news for you. We got 2 fantastic candidates coming up, Perry Shung and Brandon Keller. I think these 2 young gentlemen will add a lot of value to the Hancock County Board. So if you see them, support them, tell them you appreciate what they've done for the county. One other thing I want to talk about, and then I'll get off the stage and shut up. Hancock, I know that there's been questions asked recently about a company that Hancock County had we retained to help us. Their name is Bellwether. And Bellwether does a lot of things for the county. So I just wanted to put it out here tonight. It's just some of the things that Bellwether does. They do human resources for the county. If we have any issues with anything in the county with the employees or anything, they help us with the human resources to get through that. They help us with budgeting. They're always there. They work with the Finance Committee for countless hours, putting the levy together, getting a balanced budget put together. And between the Finance Committee and Bellwether, they do an outstanding job. They work a little bit on animal control. They've helped us on some issues that we had to deal with the last couple of years on the animal control. They also write resolutions for the county. Solar resolution is one that we've been really working with. They do the permitting for the solar power for us. There's a ton of work that goes into this. And it's stuff that we are mandated by the state to do. So we have to have guidance. We have to have somebody that knows what they're doing to keep the county from being in any type of jeopardizing the county anyway. We also look at working with the state's attorney. Bellwether does. They sit down with her, go over some things that may need to be addressed for the county. They work also with the assessors, the tax assessor's office. That's kind of how we got started with Bellwether, is that we were without a tax assessor. had, against the timeline of getting our tax bills out. And so we brought Bellwether in and they helped us with that, and then continued to help us with budgeting and other things. So they were very instrumental that way. They attend all county board meetings. Before the meeting, they go around to all the offices to make sure that there isn't any issues that need to be taken care of, or the issues that they can help with. And they attend all the county board or Hancock County board meetings. So they do a lot for us. And if we had to pay them by the hour legally, it would cost the county a ton of money. So as a county board, I think all 15 board members agree, because it was unanimously voted on, that this is the way to go. And I think, I say to you tonight, if you want to talk to any of the board members, we'll be willing to stay around tonight and answer any questions for it. Other than that, I'm going to be quiet. Wayne, do you have anything?
And I will add that Bellwether, they keep us out of trouble. They know the statutes inside and out. They're not legal representatives, but they know all the laws, and they have the staff throughout their business to understand and get it down to our level. And they are an extremely important advocate for doing things right. They do work across the state in 82% of the counties. They do consulting. We have our own personal consultant in our county, and they have several others that do several counties themselves. So they know this stuff inside and out, and as things get more technical from the governor's office, he changes things all the time, we have to keep up on the pace. I'll talk a little bit about our finances, and as Mark said, we have a balanced budget every year. This year's increase of the levies was 2.6%. If you add in the veterans, it's 3.6%. We strive to keep things near zero as we can. All the board members are Republican, and they are very conservative Republicans. I think Steve Lucy is so conservative, he'll take the forks off the table and take them home, wash them, and reuse them. We have a strong county. We're all proud to live here. This is our home. This is one of the best scenic and historic and prosperous counties in the nation. Good farmland. Our EAV went up 10.8% last year, which is tremendous. 1.2 million of that was farm improvements. 1.2 million was commercial, and 1 million was residential. We have a growing economy in this county. And even though the ag economy is a little bit subdued, we will provide and make do. And we are very proud of that. And we're also proud of our EMS. We've got that thing off and running. Aaron does a wonderful job with that. He's pulled it out of the brink of not running, and he's back at work. And we are very proud to have him and his company keeping us safe and having 2 ambulance services, one in Hamilton and one in Carthage. So with that, I appreciate all of your time. And our office holders are here, many of them. They are all Republican too. Holly Wild-Tillman is an independent, but she is as conservative as they get. So we are very proud of our office holders. I see Dave Walker's here. The budget process that I started with 16 years ago was that you go through every line item once, twice, 3 times, maybe more with every office holder. And we still do that, even with our consultants. So we know things inside and out. We try to make everything efficient as we can and move the county forward. So I appreciate being able to tell you a little bit about the county, and there are more important people than us to talk about things up here. So good night. Thank you.
I do have one thing to mention. I forgot to mention. I apologize. We're talking sometime in April that we would like to open up to the citizens of Hancock County, probably in the courtroom. We're going to bring Bellwether in to explain the levying system. We're going to ask the treasurer, the tax assessor's office, to talk about how to read your tax bills, and if you have any questions. But we'd like to go over the whole thing so everybody understands and be transparent about what's going on with the property taxes. It's going to be about an hour meeting, but we just want people to understand how the levy works and how we derive at what we do when your tax bill comes out. So keep that in mind. We'll try to get it in the paper. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, we're going to start with local candidates. And we will start with Deb Roskamp, candidate for Hancock County Treasurer.
Hi, I'm Deb Roskamp. I am from Warsaw, Sutter, Illinois. Grew up in the bottom as a farmer's daughter and married a farmer, like I should have known better, but up on the prairie where the political signs want to blow away. I am a CPA. I've been a CPA for 38 years. I am running for the Hancock County Treasurer position as a licensed CPA for 36 years. At that 2 years between, that's when I worked in Quincy for Arnold, Barron, Cedars, and Gray, and we did audits of the city of Quincy and Adams County, and they hired me because they needed someone to come in to do audit work those 2 summers. And then I got my license, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years, raising 3 boys. I would be remiss if I did not recognize my husband, Max Roskamp. We've been married 38 years as of a couple of days ago. We have 76 years of experience. I worked for lawyers, so I know how to do that. Okay, I have experience in governmental audit. I am really intrigued by the work as a treasurer because that was something that I started my career auditing. When I worked at the law firm of Capps, Ansel, Clark, and Rasmussen, I did their payroll bookkeeping. I was their IT coordinator. I taught them how to do the tax filings online because they were still manually preparing or mailing those in. I have experience as a leader. I have served for 40 years through the Quincy area chapter of the Institute of Management Accountants. Every year on that board, I served over 12 years. I served 3 different times as their president, and I have served once as president of the Heartland Regional Council, which goes all the way out to Wichita, Kansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Springfield, Missouri, Rogers, Arkansas, all over the state of Missouri, the Quincy area chapter, and we've just recently included Des Moines, Iowa, and Omaha, Nebraska in that organization, and I help put on seminars every September in Springfield, Missouri, 2 days for our continuing education. So, been very active in that leadership role. So, work well with a lot of people and look forward to working with people in the Hancock County Treasurer's Office. I am currently the coordinator for Darren Bailey's campaign in Hancock County, and I too agree there are people that we want to hear from tonight. So what I'm going to do is over on the table, I have my little magnetic calendars that I use as a tax preparer so that my clients can find me. Deborah.roskamp@gmail.com is where you can find me, and I will send you to links where I've been interviewed on YouTube by Colin and the WCAZ radio. If you want to hear more about what I've done in my career, you'll be able to do that later. So I'm going to turn my time back at this point, and I really would appreciate your vote on March 17th.
Thank you. Now for like 8 months, but here we go. Last big hoorah before the final election, primary election. I wanted to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This is a lot of people, especially when you're up here in front of everyone. First and foremost, I just want to let everyone know I am native to Hancock County. I was born and raised here. I went to Carthage schools. I graduated Carthage High School in 2002. I have chosen to raise my children here. We have 4 awesome children. Logan Kissinger and his wife, Cameron Kissinger. They're sitting there. And then I have Levi Kissinger and his girlfriend Abby. They live here in Carthage. Kendra and Kipton Kissinger, they still live with me at home. I would also like to give my thanks to them for their support. They have been amazing to me. I'd like to thank my dad, Boyd, my sister, Mickey, and my brother, Keegan. Most of all, I would like to thank my office mates, my coworker, Molly McDowell, and my boss, Chris Pilkington, who everybody knows she's retiring November 30th. But she has been, the both of them have been amazing support. In addition to that, I'd like to say thank you to my significant other, Earl. So, in addition to all of that, I would like to, more than anything, tell you what I have to offer. I have been in that office. It'll be 11 years in June. I have worked as Chris's Chief Deputy Treasurer for almost 11 years. I know what that office entails. I have experience with the financial system. I have experience with the tax system. I already have a great working relationship with people in the courthouse, with the county board, with the departments outside of the courthouse. I know what the job entails, for the most part. I'm still working on it. But I have the experience. I know what to do. And I hope that, makes a big impression on people. I also I don't know if anybody else realizes what all the treasurer's office entails. Like, it's not just taxes. It is also it's also the finances of the entire county. Everybody always just thinks, oh, we take the money for the taxes. That's what we're known for. Everybody hates us during that season. That's okay. We still take the money. But we also handle the entire county's finances. We take everybody's, everybody brings their money to us. We put it where it needs to go. We balance that. We handle the budget. We handle the audit. All of that. We work hand in hand with the county board. We do all of that. So reports every month for every office, all of it. Anything to do with the money, we deal with that. So I guess other than that, the only thing I have to say is that I would like to mention is that I have Chris Pilkington's full endorsement, and she has been working for the county for 24 years, so I hope that goes a long way. Please get out and vote March 17th. Thank you.
All right, now we're going to move on to our Hancock County Sheriff candidates, and we'll start with Jordan Haas. You were thinking about just jumping out there, weren't you?
I'll probably make a fool of myself, too.
I was kind of hoping you would do it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to start by thanking a few people here that have been a huge support system in my campaign over this last 8-9 months. A big thing that all of us candidates understand is that takes a mental toll on you. It's a lot. It's every night. You've got kids, you've got ball games, you've got all these things that you have to do on your daily life, plus campaign. So that's something that, for me, myself, I know that without this group of people here, it would be very difficult to run for office. And I feel terrible for the folks that run for the state office or federal office because they go through a lot more than what I do. So just want to start with that, and then we'll get into a little more here. So it's an honor to stand before you tonight in a county that still values timeless principles that were championed by Abraham Lincoln. Integrity, hard work, personal responsibility, and the rule of law. My name is Jordan Haas, and I'm proud to be running for sheriff. As many of you know, I've spent years serving in law enforcement, currently as an investigator with the Macomb Police Department, and prior to that, gaining experience right here in Hancock County. I've seen firsthand the challenges our families face. I've dedicated my career to protecting the good people of West Central Illinois. Tonight, I want to talk with you about why I'm running and what I intend to do as sheriff. Hancock County is a special place. We have low violent crime compared to other parts in the state, and that's something that we should be proud of. But we are not immune to the problems that we face in rural America. Methamphetamine continues to hit our communities hard. These drugs fuel theft, domestic violence, child endangerment, and broken families. They don't respect county lines or small town values. Too many of our neighbors, young people especially, are caught in the grip of addiction, and it's tearing the fabric of what makes Hancock County strong. Mental health struggles often go hand in hand with substance abuse. And without strong intervention, we see repeat offenders cycling through our system instead of gaining real help and accountability. That's why I'm running, to confront these issues head on with common sense, conservative leadership. As sheriff, my priorities will be clear and unwavering. First, aggressive enforcement against drug dealers. We will work closely with state and federal partners to disrupt the supply chains that poison our county. My time working in the West Central Illinois Task Force has taught me that when we share information and work together, we are stronger. The drug knows no boundaries. Second, supporting our deputies, corrections officers, and dispatchers with training, equipment, and resources they need to do their jobs safely and effectively. Our men and women in public safety deserve the best tools and support to protect us. Third, community-focused policing. That means building trust through visibility, more patrols in our neighborhoods, stronger partnership with schools and local organizations. We'll emphasize prevention and programs that address addiction and mental health without downplaying personal responsibility. And fourth, transparency and fiscal responsibility. Taxpayers deserve a sheriff's office that operates efficiently, spends wisely, and answers directly to the people of Hancock County. I believe in the same values Lincoln stood for. That government should be protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not expand bureaucracy and coddle criminals. In an era when some leaders in Springfield and Washington seem determined to undermine law enforcement, defund priorities, or impose radical policies that don't fit rural Illinois, we need strong local leaders that will stand. Hancock County is not Chicago. We don't need big city experiments here. We need proven, tough on crime approaches that respect our Constitution, our Second Amendment rights, and the God-given freedoms that make America exceptional. Thank you for having me tonight, and I encourage you to reach out to me. I would love to speak to all of you if I can. And I'm asking for your vote on March 17th. May God bless you, God bless Hancock County, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
All right, our next candidate for Hancock County Sheriff, Josh Smith.
No, thank you all for being here. This is a ginormous crowd to speak in front of. I am not great at public speaking. Two of the things I did not have to do in my career prior to July of last year when I announced I'm running for sheriff was public speaking and talking about myself, things I hate. So bear with me. I promise I'll get through this and we'll get to the better speakers here in just a few minutes. So my name is Josh Smith, and I want to start by telling you I'm a firm believer that God puts you in places that you're supposed to be. When I was 20 years old, I left college, went there for football, didn't work out, was kind of just bumming around doing nothing. And a sheriff's deputy up in Henderson County approached me one night and said, "Hey, why don't you come work at the jail?" I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. So I put in my application, and a few days later, sheriff called and said, "Hey, come in for an interview." And probably the easiest thing, like this 10-month job interview I've been on here, that one was like a 2-minute job interview. He said, "Hey, when can you start?" I said, "Right now, let's go." So did that for a little bit, starting there in September of 2000, and about a month in, I started riding with the deputies, and I realized then that that's what I wanted to do. That's what I was supposed to do. I'm supposed to be there to serve people. And a few years later, I ended up getting the chance to do that on the road. Former Carthage Police Chief, Gary Waddell, ended up putting me through the academy, through the Carthage Police Department in 2003. And in 2005, I hired on to the Warsaw Police Department, served there for 3 years, and I've been a Hancock County deputy since 2008. 18 years have gone by. Learned a lot. I've experienced a lot. I bring a lot of experience to the table. I'm not going to sit up here and parrot what Jordan just said, because that was a great speech, and he knows, and I think all of you know, that I agree with about 99.9% of what he said. But at the end of the day, 18 years of honor and commitment is what I bring to the table. It's different. I don't intend to go anywhere else. Win, lose, or draw with this election, I'm here to serve you. That's what's important to me. That's what's important to my family. And that's kind of how it is, I guess, folks. I really have no other way to put it here that And like I said, God put me here, and that's where I intend to be. So I know I was told before I got up here that I was not to acknowledge my wife like everybody else did, but I am going to do that anyway. She has been by my side. Not only through this campaign, but we met just a few months after I started this career. She's been through this with me a long time, and it's been a lot. Through just different calls and trials and tribulations, and the officer involved shooting a few years ago. She's my rock. I couldn't be here without her, so thank you. And I want to also talk about my mother and father-in-law, Rick and Florine Dixon. Some people don't win the in-law lottery. I won twice, so thank you guys. So anyway, like I said, I won't be here talking too long. We've got a lot of professional speakers coming up here after me. I hope that, in my travels around the county that I've come to your door. If I haven't, I'm intending to. If not, that I have not seen you, or you want to call, or you want to talk, or text, or whatever, I have a Facebook page. More than happy to give out my cell phone number. I'm here to serve you, to make sure that this county is safe. It's a great place that I grew up in the La Harpe area, raised my kids. I want my grandkids raised here. So this is God's country. Let's keep it that way.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh. All right, district, we'll start with Chad Long.
Great. So first of all, this is my third Lincoln dinner in 3 nights. I just want to say you guys did a fantastic job. It's a great crowd and probably the best food I've had in 3 nights. So my name is Chad Long. I am an associate judge here in the Ninth Circuit, and I am running for the vacancy to be created by the retirement of our circuit judge, Raymond Kavanaugh. Can't talk about politics, can't give you an idea of how I would rule on anything. That's kind of one of the funny things about politicking as a judge. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and what I stand for. I am a product of the Ninth Circuit. My father's side of the family is from Hancock County. My father was born and raised in La Harpe. His family had a grocery and butcher shop there. My mom's side of the family is from Galesburg. They farmed and raised horses. And I was born and raised in Galesburg, as was my wife, who, I guess we're doing the wife tour tonight, so she joined me tonight. We were high school sweethearts, been together for 26 years, and we were both from Galesburg, graduated from Galesburg High School, left the area to go get professional degrees, and came back upon graduating with those degrees in 2008. Been here in Knox County ever since. Knox County is our home, but we're raising our boys there, Aiden and Oliver. I had a law practice for 16 years. In that practice, it was Safe and Long. I was a managing partner there with about 4 to 5 attorneys, depending on the time frame. But while I was there, I traveled to every county in the circuit, including Hancock, and practiced in every area of law with the exception of bankruptcy. In February of 2024, the circuit judges selected me to be the next associate judge here in the Ninth Circuit, so I've been doing that ever since. I do want to address the elephant in the room, or I guess the lack of an elephant. There is no Republican on the primary ballot for this vacancy, for this coming election. I circulated petitions as a Republican, got about 1,500 signatures, but ultimately did not turn those petitions in. There was an issue with the State Board of Elections, a dispute over really when those were due to when they certified the vacancy. I had a choice of either filing my petitions and suing the State Board of Elections and probably not winning that and then not having a path forward, or running as an independent. So I will be running as an independent for election on November 3rd, and I'll be circulating those ballots starting on Wednesday. As far as why I think whether I have an opponent or not, I am the best candidate for the job. It really boils down to, I think, experience, integrity, and work ethic. I've got 18 years combined experience, legal experience, and legal expertise. Ultimately, 16 years as a private attorney, 7 years as an administrative hearing officer in the city of Galesburg, and 2 years as an associate judge. And as far as integrity, my record, quite frankly, is impeccable. You can look at my record if you want to see it. I run a fair courtroom. Everyone who comes in my courtroom is treated with dignity and respect. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, how much money you have, you've got a fair trial. You're going to hear from a fair judge who follows the law. Sometimes even when I don't agree with it. And I think that is why I have a lot of endorsements from law enforcement, is because of my integrity and also because of my experience. As far as work ethic goes, I am in the 3rd floor of the Knox County Courthouse. That is the busiest courtroom in the United Circuit. I handle juvenile abuse and neglect cases and delinquency, so juveniles are charged with crimes. I also handle, it's a long list, small claims, guardianships for minors and adults, probate, foreclosures, liability cases of $10,000 or more, arbitration cases, tax cases. I might be forgetting a few things. Oh, family cases. Every family case for anyone who's not married. So if you need a parenting plan, what we used to call custody and visitation, I do all those for couples that aren't married. So it's a busy courtroom. I'm there before the courthouse closes. I'm usually there or before it opens. I'm usually there long after it closes. And I'm on the bench from about 9 to 4 every day, Monday through Friday, just with a break for lunch. And the reason I do that, and when I'm not on the bench, the reason I'm there working and learning and working on new forms and writing opinions is because I'm paid by you. Your tax dollars pay me, and you guys deserve a return on your investment. So I work hard to make sure you get it and make sure I do a good job. But ultimately, I look forward to seeing you guys out on the trail as I get signatures again for the 2nd time. And look forward to earning your vote on November 3rd. Thanks.
Thank you, Chad. All right, our next candidate for the circuit judge in the 9th Judicial District, Carissa Bryant.
Hello. Thank you, everybody, for being here. You are interested in the process and you are wanting to change, so that speaks volumes of how far we can go. I want to talk about a couple of things tonight. Obviously, I am an attorney. I'm an attorney here in Carthage. I practice in the entire 6 county circuit, and I practice in all areas of law. And obviously, if you're running for judge, you have to be an attorney, so you know that I am an attorney. But I want to tell you, one, about who I am as a person, and also I want to address the non-elephant in the room, as Chad stated. First, I grew up in McDonough County. My parents own a farm equipment business there, and so I grew up working alongside my parents and making hydraulic hoses and looking up parts, and I knew that I wanted to go to law school from a very young age. And I went to Western Illinois for my undergrad. I met my husband there. He's from Murfreesboro down by Carbondale, and we married while I was in undergrad. And we went directly from Bushnell, the little house right next to my parents' business, to Southern Illinois University, where I got my law degree. And then we ran straight back to Western Illinois, where the flat black dirt was, because that's where I wanted to raise my kids, and that's where I called home. So he got to go back for 3 years, but we've settled our lives here. We have 2 sons. Jackson is 10, Lincoln is 7, and we live actually right in the middle of the 9th Circuit. We live on the on the Warren-McDonough County line. So that means that I can be anywhere in the circuit in 40 minutes or less, so that's been pretty helpful practicing. I'm a mom, I'm a Christian, and I'm a cradle conservative. As a judge candidate, you can't talk about politics, you can't even give opinions on cases or law that might come before you. Again, that doesn't make much sense to me, but I want you to know who I am as a person. And I have a strong faith, I have strong convictions, I have strong values, and I've never had a problem standing up for what I believe in, even if it's the least popular thing in the room. When I was in law school, I started the law school Republicans, which you can imagine how well that was taken in Carbondale, Illinois, which is the only blue part of the state outside of Cook and Collier counties. But again, I didn't care. I served on the precinct committee while I was down there as secretary. They even selected me to be a delegate to the state convention while I was in law school. So I was pretty proud of that. And when I came back here, I started serving on the McDonough County Central Committee as a precinct committee person. So my husband and I are raising our boys with those values, and those are the values that help me every day make decisions every day in work, in life, in friendships. I carry that conviction and that integrity with me. As far as the non-elephant in the room, There was some miscommunication, I believe, between the state board and the Supreme Court about timelines. I had been circulating petitions. I filed my petitions on time, and some of the signatures were ultimately rejected. What happened with that is I had, I think, 19 people that had moved and updated their voter registration address, and the State Board of Elections, lo and behold, had not updated their records. You might know about a little lawsuit that's going around right now between the Department of Justice and the state of Illinois because they won't turn over their voter rolls. Don't know why. So I did, and I went and I got affidavits from everyone, and some of these people hadn't even voted in the election since they moved. So I got affidavits from all of those people. I got copies of their driver's license, and I sent that to the State Board of Elections, and the hearing officer would not take any of that as evidence. We filed an exception and pointed out that the statute specifically states that the Secretary of State's office is to update the voter registration rolls of the State Board of Elections. And they thanked me for bringing that to their attention and told me that they would address that before the general primary. So they struck me from the ballot, and I was committed to start, or to finish what I had started, which is a commitment to this party that I've always had. And so I could have ran as an independent, but instead I chose to run as a Republican candidate write-in. And what that means is for you to have a Republican on the ballot in November, you have to write me in the primary. So that's what I'm asking today, is that you write my name in on the Republican ballot in the primary for your chance to have a Republican on the general election in November. I guess my whole thing with the failures of the state and the failures of the policy is that I don't think that the voice of democracy should be silenced by the failures of state bureaucracy. And so for those reasons, we're going to show them, you try to silence our voice, we won't have it. So, I appreciate you. I have a Facebook page. I love talking to people, and I would love for you to ask more questions and to find out more about me. Thank you, Audrey.
Our next candidate is Jeannie Evans, and she is running for U.S. Senate. And Jeannie has traveled 4 hours to be here with us tonight, so thank you for that.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm Jeannie Evans. I'm running for United States Senate to replace Dick Durbin. With Dick Durbin retiring, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to flip this United States Senate seat red. With Democrat rule in Illinois, we continue to see high prices and high crime. We need a fresh voice from Illinois, someone who will innovate to tackle these problems. I'm a political outsider. I have graduated from Harvard Law School. I've worked my career as a lawyer taking on powerful corporations to level the playing field for small businesses and to bring down prices for consumers. I'm an antitrust lawyer. I sue companies for price fixing. I work often with the Department of Justice to break up monopolies, promote competition, and that's what brings down prices. It's not spending, it's bringing down prices through market forces. We're going to take these skills to Washington to tackle the healthcare industry, housing, energy, to increase supply, increase competition. That's what's going to lower the cost of living. That's what's going to make it so you don't have to choose between a gallon of gas and a gallon of milk. And so that you can afford to live here and put food on the table and not worry about paying the electric bill. I'm excited to work with our president. He's doing a great job of trying to peel back the regulatory burden, the tax burden, so that companies are not crushed by red tape, so that companies can thrive and create jobs and create opportunities for us here in Illinois. So your kids can stay here and get jobs here, so you can stay here. And so we don't keep seeing this exodus of companies leaving the state that we've seen under Pritzker and under Democrat rule. I've been very successful. I've also sued Chinese companies. I sued Chinese companies for stealing our private data and for surveillance of Americans. I've been successful in recovering billions of dollars for American families, and I've been named one of the top antitrust enforcement lawyers in the country. I'm also a mom of 4. I'm a wife and a daughter. I was blessed with wonderful parents who raised me in a Christian home to love the gospel and to love the United States Constitution and the liberties that we've been blessed with. My father actually read me from the Federalist Papers as bedtime stories. So, yeah, here, I'll try over here. No, maybe that's not. Okay. So I have a wonderful husband. We've been married 32 years. We've raised our 4 children on the south side of Chicago. We've been active in our Christian church community, and we've had wonderful experiences, but we've also seen the devastating impact of crime. I've had too many friends lose loved ones to crime. I've attended too many funerals, and I've also lost my own brother as an innocent victim of violent crime. I am very committed to working with law enforcement, supporting law enforcement to get the funding they need, the resources, the respect they need to do their jobs and make our communities safe. I'm ready to go to Washington. I'm ready to work for you. I'm tough in the courtroom. I'm tough at the negotiation table. I've gotten great results for my clients, and I will get great results for you. I ask for your vote on March 17th in the Republican primary for United States Senate. Jeannie Evans, I hope you'll pick up one of these before you leave. I hope some of you have gotten them in the mail. I don't know if anybody has gotten them in the mail yet, but they're coming. And I really believe I'm the one who will work hard. If you nominate me, I will be working hard in the general election to bring out the vote. I'll be working with wonderful people like you all over the state to bring out the vote and that will support all of the candidates on the ballot. I'll be at the top of the ticket, U.S. Senate. Of those 6 names in the Republican primary, I'm the last one, Jeannie Evans. I hope you remember Jeannie Evans for U.S. Senate, and I'll be working for all of our candidates to promote Republican turnout. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeannie. All right, I just want to point out also that not all of our candidates, but most of our candidates have signs lining the hallways, so when you do leave at the end of the night, feel free to take as many signs as you want to put in your yard for whatever candidates that you choose to support.
I think I'll start off tonight with a quote. It's a very recent quote. This is all about our country. I love the USA. And many of you probably heard this morning. A guy named Jack Hughes standing in Milan, Italy, after the United States men just won the gold medal for the hockey for the United States of America. And this young man stood up there with a broken tooth. Yeah, let's hear it for the USA. Right? He had a broken tooth, he had blood coming out of his mouth, and the only thing he was thinking about was all of us, how he represented his country. And I was never as proud, because I looked at that guy and he looked like what I want to be. You know, I felt like that was me. I want to be that kind of guy that represents our country all the time. And tonight we're going to have an array of speakers come up here that do absolutely that. I've met all of them. I'm friends with all of them. And that's what they do. They love the USA. They work for us. Some of them are high up in the Congress. Some of them are a little bit lower, in state legislature or running for state legislature and different things. None of that matters because they are our voice. And our Constitution set up a system of government where we have the voice. And if you want to contact them, they're always there. You can contact them. And I look at them, maybe they don't have a bloody mouth or tooth missing, but I'll tell you, they're fighters. And that's what we need in this country today. We need fighters that stand strong against some of the evils that we've seen come about, And I think all these people tonight have they've proven themselves to do that. They're going to continue to do that. And that's what we need. And that's what I stand behind, and I stand behind all of them. I'm not sure. There's the guy right there. The guy I'm about to introduce is one of those guys. I stood on the steps of Springfield, Illinois with this guy in hot summer one year, years ago, when we were first starting to talk about this trans movement, all the stuff that was going on to harm kids. And he was right there with me and another group of people with the Wake, Illinois. And he's always been there for the right thing. He stands up for the right thing. He needs really no introduction. He did say that his main thing in life is being the trophy husband for his lovely wife. I disagree. I think he's more like me. We're kind of guys that have trophy wives, and we're proud of that too. Chris Miller. State representative.
Thank you. My wife's already got the clock started. I got 3 to 5 minutes, and she will be standing up yelling at me. Hey, I went to a Lincoln Day dinner last night down in Jasper County, and I was the keynote speaker, but the regional superintendent of schools got up. He was first. I had the option to go first, to go second behind him. I thought, well, he's not going to talk very long. He talked for 32 minutes. 32 minutes. When I got up, I told him, I said, I'm going to talk for 10 minutes. And I said, I always tell my pastor, if you're going to be boring, you better be brief. And so that put a chuckle to the crowd, because they all knew that this guy was putting everybody to sleep. But it's great to be here. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you. So just sit back and relax. It's going to be fine. But as I said, my name is Chris Miller. I represent the 101st District. It's way over on the other side of the state. We had a very long car date this afternoon on the way over here. We stopped at the Illinois Beach Expo on the way and shook a few hands and took a few photos over there, and it was great to be there. What a great event that was, too. But I think it's important for y'all to know that I'm the chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. And I know one thing, they didn't make this podium for old people because they need a light up here. You never know what you're going to get because I can't even see my notes. But anyway, a lot of people ask does the Illinois Freedom Caucus even exist? Aren't we all Republicans? And the thing about it is all Republicans aren't the same. And the reason why we exist is because we had Republicans voting for tax hikes. We had Republicans voting for the green energy scam. We had Republicans voting to make illegals policemen. And the list goes on and on and on. And that's the reason why the Illinois Freedom Caucus was birthed. And I was very happy to be a founding member and very honored to be the chairman currently. But one thing that our mission this year is, number one, to fire J.B. Prisker. And I know that the Freedom Caucus members are looking forward to showing up at the governor's mansion and have Darren and Cindy want to know what we're doing. We're saying, we're coming to spend the night with y'all. And the second mission that we're on is to fire Noreen Hammond and That seems like a real popular idea here this evening, but it's all possible. But I know that one thing that y'all need to know is that the fight for freedom never ends. And there's one thing, when I look around the room, I just get the sense that you all are great patriots and great freedom fighters, and you're ready to fire these frauds and ready to start a new generation of patriots standing up for what's right. It says in Psalm 11:3, it says that the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? And I know when we look at the landscape of Illinois, the truth is always the target. The truth in the Word of God, the fundamental foundations of our liberty are always the target, and the truth in politics is always the target. I know this is really shocking, but politicians will lie to you. I know that it's hard to believe, but it's true. Because, I listened to Josh's opponent, say that she's a conservative. And I don't know if you know this or not, but her CPAC score is an F. You know, it's an F. And so it's incredible. But evil never retreats on its own, only when it's confronted by a more powerful force. And I know that this room full of people will take somebody to the polls with them. And don't believe this lie that there's no chance that we can win, because we can win, but the gun owners have to show up, the Trump voters have to show up, the evangelicals have to show up, and if we all bring a piece of the puzzle and we all do our part, we can win this election in November. And so there needs to be a resolve, a high resolve to do that. You know, prior preparation prevents poor performance. And you got to have a plan. You just can't. And hope is not a plan. Hope is not a plan. I just hope that it all turns out. You have to put feet to your plan. And I know that y'all will do that. If you're going to make small changes, you change the way you do things. But if you're going to make big changes, you have to change the way you think. And it's past time for the citizens of Illinois to start thinking about being number one. Being number one in the lowest tax rate. Being number one in the lowest real estate tax rate. Being the lowest in unemployment. Being the lowest in workman's comp. The list goes on and on. Why not compete to be number one? No coach ever stands up and talks to his team and says, hey, let's see if we can be number 10 this year. You know, in Illinois, we're 48, 49, 50 in all the wrong categories that affect the quality of life. And we need to compete to be number one. And you do that by changing the way you think. Start thinking like a winner. Start thinking about winning. You know, one thing that we can do sometimes is we can lose our perspective. And one way we keep perspective is right on time. I'm at 3? No, but it's important that, I know that when our kids were little, Mary and I took them 2 places. We took them to a junkyard and we took them to a graveyard. Because everything that we think so important, everything that we may even sell our soul for, is either turning to rust or dust. And so the thing that we need to understand is the most important thing is our relationship with our Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. And secondly is our relationship with each other. I will be so glad when this primary is over and we can just all get back to being friends again. You know, dear friends. But I know that one thing that I know is until it's all over, we're going to be all gas and no brake. And speaking of all gas and no brake, there's my good friend from Bond County, Greenville, Illinois, the voice for the voiceless, the spokesman that I don't think he ever sleeps. It's Tom DeVore. Welcome in.
You know, it's been a while since I've been able to do this with my good friend Darren here, so I just have to emulate him a little bit. Hello, friends! You know, you can't go that way. Where's Delmar? Don't go that way. You know, I'm not going to talk about myself much. Many of you know who I am. Tom DeVore, a lawyer from Bond County, Illinois. Believe it or not, we're standing in the 15th Congressional District with probably one of the best congresswomen in the nation, Mary Miller. Yeah! So I live 3 hours from here that way, and Mary is also my congresswoman. I'm very thankful for that. And I'm running for the State Central Committee for the 15th Congressional District. And if you think that the Illinois Republican Party is doing right by all of you, then don't vote for me. But if you think they're not doing much, you ought to think about it if you're a precinct committeeman and picking a new direction. So that's enough of that. So, you know, people ask me why I spend, my girlfriend probably would too, 30 hours a week on politics, and then law, and then business. And I tell the story to people, and I'm being serious for a second before I get to Noreen Hammond. is back during COVID. Y'all remember it. 2020 in March. I was on my farm. I had worked my way from trailer park to being a lawyer with 3 kids that are exponentially better people than me. And I'm listening to something, and J.B. Pritzker issues an executive order that you have to stay at home. And then he issued an executive order that said the kids can't go to school. And then he issued another executive order and another one. And I'm not going to give you the whole conversation about when I got a phone call from Tom, this is Darren Bailey. I'll leave that part out, but that's a good story for a different time. But seriously, what I learned is that I'm looking around, because I've been a Republican pretty much my whole life. And I'm like, I know what the governor's doing is not lawful. Most of the lawyers that I ever talked to, even the ones that defended the governor, knew they weren't lawful. And I'm looking for Republicans to stand up and fight back for people. And you know how many I found? Not many. There's one right there, Darren. There was a couple more. But overwhelmingly, the Republicans that are in office, what I'll call it and I don't use this word very seriously, the leadership levels, guys, they weren't doing anything. They were silent. And it made me upset. And so, in 2022, after we won a lawsuit that got the mask off kids, I decided, you know what, my friend Darren's running for governor, I just run for attorney general. And I did it for a reason. I wanted to understand Illinois politics. Because for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why can't Republicans win in this state anymore. You go back into the 90s and the 80s, we were a Republican state. But we weren't anymore. And I wanted to know why. And boy, did I get a lesson. I've had the opportunity to spend time with Darren and I at every level of Illinois politics. And I am here to tell you, with 100% certainty, not 99, and lawyers never go to 100% because we always hedge, it is because of our own party. The Democrats, I promise you, are not in our way. Darren, are they in our way? They are not. We are in our own way. We don't have enough people in positions in our own party that are having the fortitude to fight for you. Guys, I'm telling you, it's the truth. When people ask me, Tom, why don't you work on fighting the Democrats as hard as you do our own party Republicans? I said, they're not in our way. Guys, they're not in our way. There are people in office in our own party that are only interested in staying in their positions, and they will never risk them to fight for you. As sure as I'm standing here, it's the truth. And the pinnacle, there's 2 races that I care about this cycle. Of course, the governor's race, because Darren's my friend. Set the statewide race out of it. The most important race in this state is Noreen Hammond against Josh Higgins. It's the most important, and let me tell you why. Noreen has been in office either as a legislative assistant or as a state representative for the better part of 3 decades. Do you know, does anyone in here know who finances her campaigns? Who is her #1 financial contributor? The Democrats. Do you know that? And there's nothing that I'm going to say to you that's not fact that I can't give you documentation to prove. The Democrats. Okay? And why does she do that? Because she uses those resources when she draws an opponent, a conservative veteran, to attack him with baseless slander. The Democrats are paying for that stuff. But what does she also do? Her voting record is not Republican. You've probably gotten 10,000 mailers about things over the last 20 years. Well, I voted for this, I voted for that. Let me tell you what she's voted for. Let me tell you what she voted for. The largest income tax increase in Illinois history went from 3% to 4.95%. Do you know who voted for it? Noreen Hammond. When there was a vote that says that under the Illinois Human Rights Act, that landlords, any landlords in here, your own property, if you have to vote, you have to let an illegal alien rent from you, or you are violating the Human Rights Act. Okay, I got a couple more of them here that I want to tell you that she's voted for. Insurance companies. Do you know it's a state law now that insurance companies have to pay for pap smears for women? Men? Sorry. It's women. What it is it's women who identify as men that want to check the box man on their insurance forms. So I say they're women. I can't actually create that fiction in my own mind. And Noreen voted for that. that says, oh, you have to allow past mirrors for men. Noreen voted for it because, again, she is DEI supporter. Why? Because her number one contributor is the teachers union, and the teachers union is the most liberal organization in the state. That has nothing to say with teachers. I have a daughter who's a kindergarten teacher. Now, she teaches in Missouri because she didn't want to teach in Illinois. But I love teachers. I fought for them during COVID, but the teachers union is horrible. How about another one? Non-citizens in this state are now authorized to become police officers and arrest citizens. You know who voted for that? Noreen. School choice? We like school choice? Guess what? You like school choice? Do you know that Noreen voted to abolish school choice and eliminate charter schools? You know that? Guys, I could go on and on and on about the votes that she has taken because she's been in office so long that she feels that she is insulated from a good challenger like this man because they'll give her, you know, she's going to spend $750,000 trying to fight this race. $750,000 because she wants to stay in office because she wants to keep making $120,000 a year. Guys, this is, leaving the statewide races out of it, the most important race in this state, bar none, because Noreen has been there for the deterioration of our party into the superminority. Now let's talk about the statewide race for a second. I've said it and I'll say it in this room. The person that has the best chance to compete against J.B. Pritzker in 2026 is Darren Bailey. Darren has been fighting as long, he's there long before I did, but since COVID, Darren's one of the few people that stood up and said, I'm not going to accept what all the other Republicans, except for the Freedom Caucus members, were doing. He was in Springfield, and they threw him off the House floor because he didn't want to wear a mask. Where was his colleagues? Some of the Freedom Caucus members were in support. Noreen Hammond, Tony McCombie, they were chastising him. Right? The other leaders of the other House, of the Senate caucus, chastising him. Ridiculous. Who's his partner? Aaron Del Mar. I have known Aaron for a long time. He has been in the trenches of politics a long time. I have been with him. I have watched him operate. And I'm here to tell you that he is the real deal. He is a good Republican. Now, he's from Chicago. You know, we're all down in, we're God's country here. You're from Republican in Chicago? Yes, he is. He's a good man. I'm here to tell you. I know him well. And he fights. And when he gets attacked, he fights back. And when he gets attacked, he fights back. And he doesn't cower. And he doesn't compromise Republican principles for his own well-being. And it's my pleasure to introduce Aaron Del Mar.
Well, I'm going to have to go hard in the paint because that was kind of boring. Man, this is an amazing room to be in here today. And has the world not changed? I mean, Darren Bailey's wearing a suit, I'm wearing a vest and boots. What has this world come to? You know, I always thought that I would be coming here today and speaking to you on behalf of myself running for governor of Illinois. I was ready, prepared, and coming out for the last 2 years, speaking at Lincoln Day dinners just like this until I got a phone call from Jose Durbin, Darren's chief of staff, saying, Aaron, you got to team up with Darren Bailey and run for governor. And I'm like, all right, Darren would be an amazing lieutenant governor. I'd love to have him. He's got a ton of Southern vote. It would be great. We do great things. But I said, no, thanks, Jose, no thank you. Darren and I, we're too different. He sounds like he's from Arkansas. I'm from Chicago. I don't know if this thing's going to work. He says, come sit down with Darren. I'm like, you know we endorsed the last two guys against me, right? Right, Darren and I have been very rocky in our start in our relationship, very much like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, right? Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, whose hands are bigger, whose hands are smaller, whose boots are better, kind of better. Except Darren killed the animal that he made his boots out of, so I guess he wins that argument. But I said, sure, I'll go down, I'll sit down with you. And Cindy and Darren came out, and we met in my office. And I pulled out my phone, I put 45 minutes on the clock. And that 45 minutes was gone. I was getting up and walking out. You know, just like a timeshare, right? My time was done, I fulfilled my obligation to be able to do it. And we talked for 4.5 hours. We talked about the differences between Darren and I, the things that other people said, like 8th grade. Did you hear what Darren Bailey said about you, Aaron? Hey, Darren, did you see what Aaron Delmar said about you? Just like a street fight, because everybody wanted us to argue, because nobody wanted to unify. They like it fractured. They like us divided, because it's a lot easier to control us when you do things like that. We talked a lot about what we thought was wrong with Illinois. We talked about our faith. Then we talked about what the vision could be for Illinois. If you took a Southeast Illinois farmer and tied it up with a Cook County Republican troublemaker, what would this state look like? Could we not lead if we could put our egos aside, if we could put our differences aside, if we could put our ambition aside, and most of all, if we could put our pride aside and lead by example? We could not only unite the Illinois Republican Party, the North, South, East, and West, but we could unite the whole state. Imagine a team that could govern the whole state, not just Chicago. That would be something, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be amazing to be proud of our state, to be proud of our governor, to be proud of our government here in Illinois? It's been a long time since that happened. I believe it was 1996 when they had Lee Daniels as Speaker of the House for 2 years and controlled everything. I was a senior in high school when that happened. It's time to change things. So Darren and I, we finished talking. He came around, gave me a big bear hug. A little awkward, I used to hug guys, but that's okay. I looked past it. We set out on our journey. We met up in the middle of Effingham at the airport with a small little helicopter waiting for us, and I'm saying small. This was like a crop duster helicopter, a little red helicopter. I'm not talking about Air Force Two here, right? Real tiny. It was me in the front, an amazing pilot named Zach on my right. Darren's in the back, and Jose's back there. And if you haven't met Jose, he's about $3 bills, if you get what I'm saying. And I'm thoroughly convinced this helicopter's not getting off the ground, right? We're not going anywhere. But it did. We went down to Clarkville, Illinois, and I figured it's about 8:30 in the morning. Not going to be a whole lot of people here. We walked into this little tiny diner, little breakfast joint. 120 people waiting for us, clapping as we walked in. I'm like, man, this is amazing. This is something special. You know, we did something at that meeting that we'd never done at a Republican rally before. We prayed. And I'm like, man. I felt lifted, I felt strong, I felt excited. We got back up on the helicopter, went down to Bloomington in Central Illinois at the Doubletree Hotel. We literally landed that thing in the parking lot. It was amazing. I've never done that either. And, you know, figured it would be 20, 30 people. It's the middle of the day, right? We're Republicans. We have to work. Democrats, they can eat whatever they want. They're not working. Not a big deal. Same thing packed. They're wearing Fire Pritzker shirts. Bailey for governor shirts. I'm like, Darren, did we get new gear, man? Right? He's like, no, that's from 4 years ago. I'm like, holy cow, I'm running with Bruce Springsteen or Willie Nelson or some people got merch from 4 years ago. We get up to the northern part of the state. I'm like, all right, finally some of my people are going to be here. We meet in Oak Brook for our opening night. There's 700 people in the room. Twice the size of this, 700 people. 350 of my people, 350 of Darren's people. They're looking at each other. What are you guys doing here? And people ask me, how do you know they were Darren's people? I'm like, that guy's wearing Carhartt overalls and he's got camo on. I'm pretty sure he's with him. One guy looked like he just got out of a deer hunt, but that was cool. Everybody was welcome. And we set out on this journey. 14,400 people, just like the ones that are sitting here in this room, went out and worked for us. You got our petitions, our coordinators, our volunteers, everybody went out and got those signatures for us. While other campaigns were paying $260,000, paying people to come into Illinois to buy an election. Another billionaire buying an election. You've seen how that worked out for us. Another guy spending $220,000, one guy spending $65,000. They just didn't understand what a grassroots movement looks like. People just like you signing our petition and getting us on that ballot. You know, our campaign took a pause and it got real sad for a while. That same pilot, Zach, in a horrible accident. On the night of that accident, October 22nd, I'll never forget it. I got a phone call from that same Jose. He called me up and said, Aaron, we need to get Darren and Cindy to Montana. I said, what are you talking about, man? Is there a donor out there? Why do we need to go to Montana? I don't understand. It's 9 o'clock at night. I'm watching Yellowstone, man. Can you leave me alone? He goes, no, Aaron, there was an accident. Zach and his wife and the 2 grandchildren had crashed. Immediately, our whole team went into action. We started calling anybody to be able to get an airplane to get them there. Just taking it, we had no idea. I called Darren up, I said, Darren, we're gonna figure it out, man. I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna figure it out. He's like, I'm just gonna drive through. I go, Darren, you can't drive. You're up in Stevenson County. You got up at 4:30 in the morning, you worked hard, you got up there, you drove up there 4 or 5 hours, you've been speaking, you've been talking, you've been up on your feet for probably 17 hours. You can't drive 18 hours, it's not safe for you, it's not safe for anyone. He's like, I just don't do it. And while I was talking to Darren, I clicked over, it was the secretary from the Hancock, Montana Sheriff's Department, and told me that law enforcement had arrived and there weren't any survivors. I flipped back over to the phone and I could hear that Cindy had gotten on the news because the sheriff had called her while I was talking to the secretary, and I could hear her heartbreak and her pain, and I could feel her leaving. But what struck me, and I remember this, and the reason I'm telling you this story is because I remember how Darren was. He was strong, he was resolute, he was stoic, he was in control. When the worst thing that you can imagine as a parent, as a grandparent, as a person happens to you, not to somebody else, you're not reading about it, but it happens to you, and you can act that way and you can be that way. If that is not the material you want from a man to be your governor, I do not know what is. He's been tested. He's been tested. You know, we went, stopped everything with Darren and Cindy one morning for loss, tremendous loss. And we submitted those petitions, and I want to thank each and every one of you that put your name on that ballot. And a couple of weeks later, Darren called me and he said, Aaron, I talked to Cindy, I talked to the kids, and we're going to continue. And I said, Darren, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? I'm a father of 6 kids. I don't think I could. He goes, no, let's do it, Aaron. I'm like, all right, Darren, if we're going to do it, if we're going to make it real, it has to be real and it has to be different than 2022 because you didn't get the result that you wanted. I go, we have to talk about things that aren't just great for Southern Illinois, Western Illinois, rural areas. It's got to be something that everybody in all 102 counties can agree with. Because you were great in those rural areas, but as soon as you came up to my neck of the woods in Chicago, you hit a brick wall, and we got to kick that wall down. He goes, well, what do you think? I go, all right. I go, Darren, we need to talk about affordability. Everybody in this room knows somebody that left Illinois because it's too expensive to live here. We need to talk about how unacceptable it is when you have a tax bill that's higher than your mortgage payment. Why can't we be like Indiana where it's 1%? You cannot be charged in your property taxes more than 1% of your assessed value in Indiana, but you come to Illinois and they can charge you 3.5 to 5% of what your home is. You're basically renting your home from the government. Look at our utility bills. Has anybody in this room's utility bill gone up in the last 6 months? Oh my God, I open up my bill, I'm like, what do these people charge me for? They're charging me for my daylight, sunlight, light at the end of the tunnel, check engine light. These people are kind of crazy. We need to talk about public safety. Public safety is important. We need to be talking about education. These are the things that we can do to lead our state. It doesn't matter if you are in Anderson County, if you're in Hancock County, any other county in the great state of Illinois. These are the things that we're going to lead on. These are the things that we can do. And I can tell you right now, Chicago is ready. I'm going to wrap up, and I want to make one promise, and I want to make a deal with everybody in this place. And Tom's got the math to back it up. If you guys can get us to 55% or better voter turnout in your areas, I will find a way to get us 28% in Chicago. Because we don't need to win Cook County, we just got to get 28% because the other 97 counties of Illinois will lift us up and we will win. But in 2022, you had a 43% voter turnout. That doesn't win anything. You don't even get a door prize. You get your 55% plus, I'll find a way to get my 28%, and we'll take our state back immediately. But without that, I want to introduce the next great man that I've met. He started out as my sworn enemy, then he became my friend. Now I run through hell with a backpack full of dynamite for him. Ladies and gentlemen, Darren Bailey.
This just got tough. Cindy and I left last Sunday morning at 7 o'clock, and we'll be getting home at about 1 o'clock in the morning tonight. So it's been amazing. Guys, it's been amazing. I want to share just really briefly why this is different, why we are going to win, why we're even going to be able to work with the Democrats, guys. This is real. I want to back up and tell Paul Harvey's the other side of the story, the rest of the story with Aaron. Because when I got up and gave him that hug, I also told him I was sorry. I asked for his forgiveness. After all, I was justified because it was on the internet, it was on Facebook, so it had to be true, all the things that I was spewing out. And many of you have seen that. And when I announced him as my lieutenant governor, many of you said, Darren, I don't know, what are you doing here? So I created my own problem, and that was the punishment that I had to kind of dig myself back out of it, because that's what Dean White, that's what Gary Rabine, when they called and suggested that I run as governor and I have Aaron as my running mate, I immediately told them that's not going to work, guys. But they both challenged me because they knew me. Said, Darren, we know you. It's not true. Have you ever talked to Aaron about it? I was embarrassed to say, no, I hadn't. So when we had this meeting, and I was just like Aaron, I'm just going to check it off the box to say that I did it. And it turned out they were right. It was all nonsense. And I was so embarrassed that I defamed him like many other politicians do, like what's taking place with Mr. Higgins. It's nonsense. It's wrong. And it's got to stop. And when I say this, if you hear nothing else from me tonight, when you go home this evening and next week, if you've got differences with anyone in your life, children, family, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, if there's anything at all, try to make it right. Just try to make it right. If you can't do it, it's okay, but at least you tried. And honestly, that's what my trip we were headed up to Barrington to see Don Jr., and I just thought, well, I'll at least do my part, and checked off that I tried, but it turned out to be much different. And I'm satisfied that every family's got problems. I know that. And I'm satisfied that if you try that, if I can do absolutely anything that make a relationship better, I just want to share that story with you. But this is different. We had to sit down at the table and we talked about can a Republican actually win? Yeah. Can a downstate farmer win? We discovered, yeah, actually we can. But then what? And you've heard it, Ronald Reagan's 80-20, and I'll be honest with you, when I always considered the 80-20, I thought that meant giving up money out of your pockets and morality. Now, I'll never compromise on that. But I realized that the 80-20 message with some really smart people around the table was, like Walt Disney said, we as Americans have more in common than that which separates us. So let's figure out what 80% of Illinoisans are frustrated about, and let's message that, and let's work on that. Let's make that the priority. Guys, J.B. Pritzker has laid that at our feet on a silver platter the last 3 years. It's affordability, it's safety, it's education. That's what the people in Chicago are worried about. They did not have as big of a problem with affordability 4 years ago that they do now. Their property taxes have skyrocketed much higher and more and faster than ours have. Their cost of living is out of control. There are 1,600 police officer openings in Chicago alone. And people tell me, well, that's just up there. Well, it's interesting because Wednesday night when we came through in Decatur to speak there, every other lit up billboard was offering a $5,000 sign-up bonus for Decatur Police Department. How do you destroy a constitutional republic? You create lawlessness. And that's what J.B. Pritzker is doing. And if we allow that man another term, guys, we're done. Because he's auditioning right now for president. And this year and next year, he will create a platform in this state that he can stand up and show California, Colorado, New Jersey, New York, just exactly what's going on. And we can stop it. Education, by the state's own standards, 70% of our children cannot read, write, and do math at grade level. That's on the state's webpage. Guess what it's like in Chicago? It's 90%. Their children are suffering. Our future is disappearing. And we can stop it.
You've heard the message. All we've got to do is to show up and vote. So I just want to share a few more quick little stories with you. One more, I haven't talked about this for a long time. I hope I can get through it. But this honestly, during this tragedy, we had 3 months. We were at home with family every night. I mean, I can't even relax when I'm on vacation. Cindy will tell you that. So to have 3 months of just the guys at the farm took the farm, I didn't have to worry about anything. I didn't even think about the campaign. We just stayed home and we soaked up family. And it changed me. Made me a better person. I remember it one day when on a Monday morning, I got up to Google to see how many shootings and deaths there were in Chicago. Because a couple of weeks earlier, I was doing that every Monday morning, and it looks like 3 people were shot and killed over the weekend. And I'd just get up and I'd get on Facebook and I'd tell you that. There were numbers and statistics. And I began to realize that these are people, these are lives, these are sons and daughters and brothers and sisters. And it's all taking place up in Chicago. It's disgusting and it has to end. But when Aaron was telling that story about trying to find us a plane, we were driving and we weren't going to get out to Hancock, Montana until 11 the next day. Zach's business partner is out there with their family. They've all loaded their families up because after they did this job for Montana, they were going to go sightseeing. So our grandson, Finley Tate, was not in a helicopter, so he was out there. So Zach's business partner, they had called and said, what do we do? And I just said, yeah, if there's any way, get him to bed, and I'm going to do everything I can to get out there by the time he wakes up. I mean, it was impossible, and I knew that. But I knew God was more powerful. Cindy and I are driving out there. It's 1 a.m. and we're going through Iowa. I get a call on the phone at 1 a.m. It's one of Zachary's former business partners. This guy is as far left. He's farther left than I am right. Because we severed our business relationship because he hates President Trump so much that he couldn't stand us to look at us and talk to us. He's on the phone. And he asked where we were at. 1 a.m. He said, Darren, I've got a jet. He said, where's the closest airport? And I said, we were 3 hours away from Sioux City, Iowa. And he said, this jet is taking off right now in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's going to be there in 2.5 hours. So make your way there and it'll pick you up. So it did. We got there. We got on the jet. We landed it in Baker, Montana at 5:30 in the morning. Got in the car and drove 30 minutes to Ekalaka at 6 o'clock. Sun's rising. Cindy was in the vehicle. We parked it behind the ranch house where they were staying. And I walked around and opened the door, and they had all of Zach Kelsey's stuff. They had 3 kids with them themselves. This room was packed. But there's little Finn laying on the couch and raises his head up. He says, Papa, what are you doing here? I said, well, Grandma, Honey, and I just came out to see you. Because he didn't know anything yet. We walked around back, and as soon as he got in the car with Cindy, he knew what was going on. And I tell you that because I needed to share that tonight. I tell you that because that's what can happen here in Illinois. That's when God intervenes, he can change hearts, he can change minds. And what was impossible became possible. Last week, I was honored to get the Illinois State Rifle Association endorsement, which, that's awesome for us. But 2 days later, I get a notice that I got an endorsement from the Daily Herald newspaper. Now, guys, I don't know what you know about the Daily Herald newspaper, but it is a very far left-leaning, heavily read newspaper in the suburbs. I went into that interview, and I came out, and people were asking me, well, Darren, how'd that go? And I said, well, I think it went great, but I don't know, what they do to me. They just mix my words all up to where I did not say that. And I encourage you to look that up and read it, because it's amazing. These people, just Illinois Education Association poster childs. I mean, I just thought it was going to be terrible. But they said, this is a different Darren Bailey. We recognize that. This is a guy that we think can govern Illinois and work with Chicago. This morning at 7 a.m., the Chicago Tribune rolls out their editorial. They admit they don't do endorsements, but please read that article. At the very end, they say, this is a different Darren Bailey. This is a Darren Bailey that we can get behind. So I tell you that because the door is opening. Opportunity is there. And just like Aaron said, I'll do my part if you do your part. We're going to work. We're going to work hard. And if you can just imagine what the shock waves are going to be created on November 8th when we win, it's going to force the Democrats to the table. Because after all, we've got a lot of work. We have got to keep people safe in Illinois. We've got to educate their children. And we've got to keep them here. They've got to be able to afford here. Illinois corporate taxes are twice what they are in Indiana and Iowa. That's why all our business is going there. We can stop that. That's the answer to everything. We bring back business. We bring back families. This Chicago Bears thing, it's really bigger than you think. It's not a matter of just losing an iconic team. There's still a $500 million debt on Soldier Field, and it's being paid for by the hotel taxes. And when there's nothing there for people to come to, and people aren't staying at the hotels, and that tax is not being paid, who do you think's going to be? Who do you think's going to have to pay that? We are. J.B. Pritzker did his Wednesday State of the State address. He said, everything's okay, guys. We just don't know it yet. The budget's only going to grow by 0.5% this year. 0.5%. Do you know what 0.5% of $55 billion is? It's $1.5 billion. You know what? Do you really? One last point, and I'll be quiet. 1 million. Do you know what in time factor? Do you know what 1 million seconds adds up to? It adds up to 11 days. We toss around billions like it's nothing because we have a governor who's a billionaire. God bless him for that. But he has nothing in common with any of us. You know how much time 1 billion seconds make up? 37 years. I want you to think about that because we're straddling our children, we're straddling our future with debt. It's got to stop, and it can, friends. So I'm honored to be here tonight with you, and I'm sorry. Last night we were in Warren County, and it was a beautiful event. This is a beautiful event. I don't know, maybe because I'm tired and emotional, I just felt like I needed to share that story with you, and I hope you forgive me if it bored you, turned you off, but I needed you to know that because there's been things going on in our lives. Aaron's witnessing it. Cindy knows it. Many of the people that are with us are seeing it every day. The opportunity is real and right because at the end of the day, we win. Well, how are you going to work with the Democrats? Guys, we can. And we will. Talking to people, and that's exactly how I will govern. God bless you. God bless you, Hancock County. Thank you so much for your steadfastness, your patriotism, and God bless the state of Illinois. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, I didn't get any instructions, but I'm going to wing it. Mary Miller and Chris are dear friends. Mary Miller is an amazing woman that stands on her beliefs. She represents you well, and I'm honored to call her friend, and I think you guys should be honored to call her your congresswoman, and I think we've got a special announcement up here. God bless you, sir.
My name is Colin. Some of you may know me from my podcast, Remarks with Republicans. As we head towards March 17th, I encourage everyone to vote responsibly and stay informed. If you're looking to learn more, be sure to check out Remarks with Republicans. Enough about me, that's not why I'm standing here. Now it's my honor to introduce your United States Representative and America First Patriot, Congresswoman Mary Miller.
Oh my goodness, that's the best introduction I've ever had. Thank you so much, Colin. And it's great to be here with you all this evening. Thank all of you patriots for coming out and supporting the Hancock County Republican Party. Chairwoman, thank you for the invitation. It's been such an honor to represent you all. I do believe I'm going to answer to God for how I handle this opportunity. I would greatly appreciate your continued support. Obviously, we're running again. I have an A voting record as a conservative. I belong to the Freedom Caucus out in DC, and we are definitely the conservative caucus. A caucus is a group of politicians that share the same priority, and we are the constitutional conservatives out there. I also have a fantastic staff who has helped the constituents of our district. We've brought $19 million back last year by unraveling problems that constituents were having with Social Security, IRS, or their veterans benefits. And I'd like to introduce Ron. Ron Fruman's here. You want to stand up, Ron? Ron does my veterans affairs, and he has been fantastic. There have been people that have been at the end of the rope, really trying to get like their health care or other things worked out. And then Noah, where's Noah? Noah's in the back. He mans the office in Quincy and travels the area, so please reach out if you have any issues. You know, I have two opponents on the Republican ticket. They've been voting in Democrat primaries. I thought you'd like to know that. One of them is actually listed on voter roll as a hard Democrat. Well, enough of that. I'd like to share some happy personal news. My husband and I have just welcomed our 23rd grandchild, and wait for this, we're soon going to be great-grandparents to a grandson. So, yeah. Like you, we want our children and grandchildren to enjoy the freedom and opportunities that we've all had to pursue the American dream. It drives me. You know, I'm just so thankful that Donald J. Trump is our president and not Kathleen Campbell. President Trump has achieved extraordinary things this past year, and it's been such a privilege to fight to make America great again. And it is not work, it is a fight. And, you know, the border is secure. For the first time in 50 years, the United States has negative net migration. 622,000 illegal aliens have been deported, and 1.9 million have self-deported. I believe many more will self-deport when we cut off the taxpayer-funded benefits for everything. I worked really hard to get a provision included to reform the SNAP program so that SNAP benefits are only available to U.S. citizens. Yeah, that's something. We passed the Working Families Tax Cut Act, a historic tax cut and reform bill. These tax cuts are delivering bigger paychecks and refunds, especially for small business owners, our farmers, and families. I serve on 3 committees, the Ag Committee, which my husband and I are farmers, Education Workforce, I'm a former teacher, and I care deeply about our workforce and deregulation and just making it easy for people to be productive and run their businesses. But I also serve on the House Administration Committee, and we've been working hard for election reform to get voter ID, proof of citizenship, and clean voter rolls. passed the House and it's over in the Senate. So I would just ask you to please pray for a miracle that it would pass the Senate. It is a priority for President Trump, and I just have this feeling that somehow he's going to wrangle the Senate to get it done. I also introduced the Safe Driving Laws Act to stop states from granting guns. So hopefully that we'll get that passed. Another thing that's been a top priority to me from the very beginning, I've been unashamed to say that the foundation of our country was founded on faith and family, which is why I introduced the Congressional Family Caucus to stand up for the traditional family as God ordained it. I'm getting a lot done. I'm having a lot of opportunities, but I just want to highlight 3 things out of the caucus. I introduced the Screen Act, which requires pornography websites to use age identification verification. Yeah, that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. 85% of our children, American children, by the time they're 18 have accessed pornography online, a lot of times accidentally. It is a rot in our culture. And Europe is so much more liberal than us on social things, and they've already implemented this because they're protecting their children. Also, very soon I'll be introducing a bill to protect our children from obscene books and curriculum in schools. Under the Stop Sexualization of Children Act, no federal education funds may be used to promote sexually explicit content as defined under existing code. Federal dollars should never be used to underwrite the sexualization of our children. And the last thing I'd like to highlight from that committee, the Family Caucus, last spring I was getting ready for the day and I was listening to a podcast and I just remembered that June was Pride Month. And so we've had to celebrate Pride Month. It's been 25 years, people, that they have been grooming our children and parading their indecency in public. So I thought, why don't we change it to celebrate family? It's so much more positive and unifying. We're celebrating the 250th anniversary. Yes, it'll be great. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from that, and it is gaining traction. So my vision is that President Trump will acknowledge it as the Celebrate Family Month, but also that churches across the country would plan something for June to celebrate the American family. Let's see. I guess I probably should wrap it up, but I do want to encourage you, every generation has had its battles to fight, and we should never give up. Our country and our children's future is worth fighting for. My friend said that evil, it's Erwin Lutzer, Pastor Lutzer from Moody Church in Chicago, he made the statement, evil never retreats on its own, only when it's confronted by a more powerful force. And together with God, we are a force, and I know someone else that can help us be a force against evil, and that's our great candidate, Josh Higgins. This is the time I've always called primary elections the fire the fraud opportunity. So we have a great opportunity here. Josh has been interviewed by the Freedom Caucus. He's going to be a member of the Freedom Caucus. I've endorsed him, and I'm really looking forward to him working and helping us to overcome evil with good in Illinois. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to get something quick out of the way here. My daughter Vivian loves to come to every single event. She wasn't able to come tonight. So I did do a quick FaceTime with her so she could say hi to everybody. But she just wanted to say hi. All right, I love you, kiddo. One of the main reasons why I wanted to FaceTime Vivian, she's gone now, is she just stayed at her friend's house on Friday night, and regretfully, she had to see a television ad about her dad. And it was uncomfortable for her, so she called. She was upset. And that was really the first time, well, not the first time, but one of the times that it really bugged me that my family's had to go through this. My wife has been incredible. She's over here, and I just want to give her a round of applause because she's been awesome. All right, now I'm going to be super positive. I don't really feel like I have to talk about Noreen much because Tom did such a great job. So I'm just going to be very positive. I want to thank Mary Miller for the endorsement. I want to thank Chris for the endorsement. Darren Bailey, he already took off. I want to thank him for the endorsement. It's been really incredible to see these people that have courage and that are willing to fight for freedom come to support me. Because one thing that I've really noticed going through this process is I've had a lot of people reach out and tell me, hey, you know, I support you, but I'm not going to come out and say that I support you. Or, we can't support you. You know, we've known Noreen a long time. Now, nobody's telling me that Noreen's doing a great job, but the courage is the thing that's missing. And we have people like Chris Miller, Mary Miller, Darren Bailey that are willing to fight the fight. And those are the people that we have to keep getting elected, because if we don't do that, then our state just has no hope. Tom DeVore likes to point things out, and people get frustrated with the way that he does it. Well, the reason that he does it the way that he does it says that's the only way you get people to listen. I was going to come up here and tell you that I'm going to lower taxes. I was going to come up here and tell you that I'm going to get school choice passed. But I don't want to be disingenuous. I now know what my goal is, and my goal is to get good people like me elected. I'm not going to be a coward. I'm going to fight for good conservatives because that's what we have to do. Now, my entire mission is rooted in service. After I played a little bit of college baseball, I joined the Air Force. I spent 12 years in the Air Force, about 5 years as an aircraft mechanic, and 6.5 years as an intelligence analyst. And I really do think that helped me when I jumped out in 2019, and along with some really good people here, I fought against our school district for mask mandates. I organized about 350 people to come to our school board meeting, and our state senator came with us, and he talked about local control. We reached out to Noreen Hammond and asked if she would come. She did not. And so when I was finished with that, I decided to be a precinct committeeman. John Riley, who's our chair, he kind of got me involved with that. And my mom's been a precinct committeeman for 40 years. My grandpa was before that. And so it's kind of ran in our family. Well, after I fought the school board for a little while, I decided to go ahead and run for school board, because I was naive enough to believe that school choice would come to Illinois. And thinking that, I thought, well, maybe if I get on the school board, I can make our school be a school of choice. You know, when the Illinois legislature and the governor, come to their senses and they open up the federal funds that President Trump wrote an EO for them to be able to access, our school can maybe get some of that money because we've done good things to try to make our school better. Well, as we all know, Illinois is one of the few states that hasn't opted into it. And there's actually been a couple blue states opt into it, but Illinois is not one of them. But I'll kind of end with this because I know that this has been a long night and there's been a lot of people speak, and I don't want to be up here too long, but I just want everyone to know that on March 17th, if you're looking for change, if you're looking for something better that's happened in the last 16 years in our district, I am that vessel for change. I can do that for you. I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to be able to pass a bunch of legislation to get your taxes lowered, because right now we're fighting to get out of the super minority. But what I can tell you is I'm going to fight with the Freedom Caucus every single day to get good people elected. And until we do that and we change the outlook of this state, nothing changes. So on March 17th, or before, preferably, when you go to the polls, I ask that you not only vote for me, but you vote for the people that care about freedom. You vote for the people that care about liberty. And we've had a lot of good speakers here today that absolutely do that, so vote for them. But vote. And don't only vote, but grab 5 people, take them with you, make them vote too. Well, maybe not maybe don't force them. I'm not sure if that's legal. But grab 5 people and have them go with you. I appreciate this room. I've talked to almost everybody in here. You guys have been so supportive. I appreciate the prayers from my family. I appreciate Mary Miller more than anything, because to get the endorsement of somebody who has an 87% approval rating across our district is huge. I would tell you that Mary has a race, but she doesn't.
She does.
So, but thank you all so much. And when we win on March 17th, I will fight for every single person in this room every single day. And I'm glad to have the Freedom Caucus behind me to help me in that fight. Thank you. Roger.
I appreciate you guys sticking with us. I know it's been a long night and we ran a little long, but we had some really important speakers we wanted to make sure that everybody heard from. Thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful evening. The bar is still open. The candidates are still lingering around, most of them. So grab them and talk to them if you haven't had a chance to do that yet. And thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. We appreciate your support.